Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'll be sharing with you my tips on how I teach physics in my class. Teaching is extremely difficult and draining, but it is very rewarding when we see our students learn from our subjects. We all know that students can have difficulty with any subject, but science, specifically physics, often deals with abstract concepts, such as magnetic fields, chemical bonds, and electrical currents, which students find particularly tricky as they cannot see or touch them. Students also revealed that they found topics such as mechanics, optics, electromagnetism, and thermodynamics difficult to understand. But despite its challenging nature, with a few basic tips, a frequent practice, and new strategies can make physics topics more interesting and easier to understand. Therefore, there's no reason you can't succeed with it. So these are the things or tips that I usually do during my physics class. Number 1, relate physics to everyday life. Numerous interesting events take place in our everyday life. Physics plays an essential part in the occurrence of these events. Students may find the topic more interesting to understand if teachers provide examples related to the real world. For instance, if you want to teach about projectile motion, then you will give examples such as playing volleyball, shooting a basketball, or etc. This will increase the interest of the students of the topic since they have played or even seen the said game. So if we are going to speak or if we are going to discuss about this topic, in the manner of language in physics, maglisod ang estudyante o sabot. Most likely, maglisod ang estudyante if dili na to na siya i-relate to the real world. So, by definition, projectile motion is a two-dimensional motion, and it is the combination of the horizontal motion and the vertical motion. So, dili na siya masabtan sa estudyante if inana ang way mo sa pag-explain. But we need to relate it to the real world. For example, shooting a basketball to a ring. That motion, since nag-follow na siya path, which is trajectory path, any object follows to a trajectory path, and that motion, we called it projectile motion. Okay? Number 2, encourage and guide your students to practice simple problem solving. So we all know that physics not only more on the concept, but we are going to teach our students know how to solve problems. Teachers should discuss the basic formulas with their students. Allow them to practice simple problem solving as an example or as an application on the topic discussed, and guide them during the practice. So what I did in my class is I let them solve the problem. I will give them set works, and then I roam around. I facilitate the students. I also check and correct the students' work during the practice, because I believe that this tip is a very effective way in getting the attention of the students and also promotes understanding well on the topic. So, number 3 is encourage your students to ask questions. While teaching physics, asking questions is a great way to ensure that the students can understand the topic. As a teacher, we can allow our students to ask questions relevant to the topic. So, it is also be helpful to know whether our students understand the topic or not. It is also help to clear any kind of misunderstanding related to the concept, as well as can reduce the chances of misconceptions and enhance the students' attention to the topic. The number 4 tip is perform interesting experiments to explain how physics works. So if you want to make your physics lecture more exciting for students, you should teach your students several examples related to the topic. For example, you can use the flashlight to explain the principle of how light travels and how fast light travels. You can also use stone or any object. If you are going to throw it upward and then which come back due to gravity, then it can help us to explain the gravitational force. So students will remember these little activities or experiments performed in the class. They can also understand the topic with the help of these experiments. So let's move on to our tip number 5. Practicing whole brain teaching. So this is an innovative new method by which teachers explain a concept before having a students explain it to another. If students know about linear motion, Newton's law of motion, kinetic energy, and etc., and then they can lay out the details to others, then they have learned well. So mostly, in my class, I give questions. I always discuss the concept, and then I ask them to have their groups, and then I will ask questions, and then they will explain. If they can explain the concept in detail, so diha na ko ma-assess if akong estudyante is nakasabot pa sa akong concept. So that is whole brain teaching. Tawagon natin na siya as a new method as whole brain teaching. And the last one, tip is perform oral recitation learning method in the class. This method will help students learn how to apply the information they have learned in the lecture. So it helps also the students to develop excellent rhetorical skills, gives them almost immediate feedback on their hard work, and also it challenges their fear of speaking in public. So this time, ma-develop ang ilang communication skills. It is also important, however, for the students to be actively involved in the class. So I believe that these tips are very important as a teacher and even sa akong students, because I observe sa akong mga estudyante that they have learned so much in my class. And they improve every time na magklase ko. So I think that ends with my sharing tips today. And I hope you have learned something and may apply those tips in your respective classes. Thank you and God bless everyone.